I figured I'll make you a short video walking up the Royal Mile, sort of medieval part of the city, and I'll just show you wee clips, different bits and bobs. That's the old toll booth. It's been fixed up at the moment. It's where they used to collect taxes in this part of Edinburgh. It's a really old building. You have this other old medieval building as well. I'll go inside though. So you get lots of these old, they're called wines and closes and stuff. I actually filmed part of Outlander right here. It's just a big TV show in Scotland. You can see Salisbury's Crag there as well, so I got a view of that. But yeah, they filmed this actual building featured in a TV documentary. Used to be an old stately home for some nobility, so it's like a townhouse. I think it was built in like the 1550s or something like that. Yeah, I'll show you the toll booth as well. So this is the old toll booth. My favourite building in Edinburgh, I think. It's getting redone up. As I said, it used to be an old, it's where you used to collect taxes and stuff. Either we a little archway under the pub and stuff. And this is a museum. It's another examples of the old stately homes that used to be here. So we're in an area called the Cannon Gate, which is technically used to be outside of the city walls. Next clip I'll show you where the walls used to be, or the gates at least. So the rich would stay here, basically because it was more hygienic, I suppose. In the old part of Edinburgh, it's very, very overcrowded and stuff, so they preferred to stay here. So people who were like parliamentarians and stuff like that. I really like that red house. This is where the city used to actually start the walls. It's called the Netherbow Port. So right where that van is in front of us was the beginning of it. That would have been the beginning of Edinburgh. And then you have up here the World's End. And it was called the World's End, this area here, because you had to pay a tax to get out of what used to be the old gate here. And most of the poor people couldn't afford to pay the tax to come back in again. So quite literally they lived up there in the old town, and this would have been the World's End because they would have spent their entire life up there. It's basically not even, it's about half a mile in length and about a quarter of a mile in width. So that was for the majority of the population until 1764. That was their world. Lots of these old plaques around Edinburgh. This actually used to be on the old Netherbow Port. So, God Save the King, which would have been James VI of Scotland, first of England. So this is John Knox's house. He only lived in it for about 3 months towards the end of his life, but he was the founder of the Presbyterian Church here in Scotland during the Reformation in the 1560s. So he's kind of seen as the founding father of Scottish Protestant. That's an old well in front of us, so they haven't been working for hundreds of years. That's quite an impressive building as well. So that dates from the 1540s, I think. It's one of the oldest here now. 1550s, sorry. The city got burnt by the English in 1547 under Henry VIII. So all the buildings really do date from then. Anything beforehand, bar the castle, burnt because it's all made out of timber. So I'll just walk up the Royal Mile a wee bit. I think what they've done to some of the buildings is fantastic. Other ones I think they've kind of ruined. So the Tron Kirk. Kirk is basically a church. Right in front of me, it's Scots. Kirk is church. And you see the spiral just after that. That's St. Giles, so have a look there. Nice sunny day here in Scotland. It's about probably 11-12 degrees. So this is St. Giles, the main cathedral here in Edinburgh. It's a Presbyterian cathedral, so Church of Scotland. Used to be Roman Catholic until the Reformation, but it's very, very famous cathedral. St. Giles was a patron saint of, well, he's the patron saint of Edinburgh, and also of lepers as well. So, and here where all these people are standing, the tourists, is where the old toll booth jail used to be. Most notorious jail in Scotland is the Heart of Midlothian, which is like a city crest. They have it kind of as like a mosaic on the floor there, and to this day people still spit at it because it's where the entrance of the door to the old jail used to be. So it used to be so notorious that even the locals despised it with a passion. It was just a horrible place. It's actually where you get the expression tearaway from. So what they used to do, if you would steal for petty theft, they would basically nail your earlobe to a piece of wood on the side of the toll booth, and the only way you could get your ear or to escape was effectively rip your ear off or tear it away. So you get the expression tearaway. The clips I showed you yesterday about, I told you about the old Parliament. Well, this is the old part of the old Parliament here, and then behind there as well, it used to actually be a cemetery before the Parliament. It's where John Knox is actually buried. Now it's a car park for the old Parliament. They're government buildings still to this day, but then it's not used as the Parliament anymore. But they're really nice, I think. And here you have the French embassy. Pretty impressive. And then that's the court, the High Court here in Edinburgh. I'm not sure if you can hear me too well because this guy's cleaning his car. But yeah, you can get a sense of it. So this is one of the main old squares here in Edinburgh. What I'll do is I'll head up towards the castle. There's some of the other old buildings at the National Trust for Scotland, who I work for. They own the buildings. You can go inside. They're same way they look like 500 years ago, basically. Yeah, I'll head up towards the castle. Any mistake on the bagpipers part there, eh? He's tuning his bagpipe. That's how they tune it. It sounds dreadful when they tune. They're heading up to the castle now. Most expensive restaurant in Edinburgh is to our left here. You have the whiskey experience as well. That's right beside that. Both licenses to print money. You have camera obscura here. It's like illusions. So this is up by Edinburgh Castle. It's the entrance there. I'm not going to go inside because it costs around £20 for an adult. So, and I've been there, I don't know, 70 times with school groups, so I could walk around that blindfolded. That's the outside, or the entrance to the castle. It looks more impressive when you're actually in the lower levels of the city. Probably the most impressive castle exterior wise in Scotland, but I think Stirling's better. Stirling Castle, where the kings and queens used to actually live, medieval era, is more impressive inside because it's got palaces and stuff. But so this is Victoria Street, the most photographed street in Scotland. It's also meant to be the inspiration behind Diagon Alley in Harry Potter. So Harry and his friends by all their equipment for school. But yeah, I'll walk down it. You got lots of little like French restaurants, whiskey shops. A place called Oink that does pulled pork. And then Harry Potter shops as well. And it leads into the grass market, which I'll go next. Give you a little look there as well. So this area is called the Grass Market. There's been a market here for, well, since the 1400s really. Now it's only really on a Saturday, but it used to be the main market, so you'd get people from the immediate areas that sell fruit, veg, fish, and then Highlanders would come down with their cows. Now it's mainly like restaurants and stuff, pubs. But yeah, this used to be pretty much like the epicenter, in effect, of Edinburgh for the working classes and the peasants. Yeah, you have a place here claiming it's the smallest pub in Scotland, but that is a complete fallacy and lie. There's many smaller. Here, where you've got the circular object and like the railings, barricades, it's actually where the old city gallows used to be. Where they used to hang people. And then over there it's called the cow gate. It's quite literally, it's where the Highlanders would bring their cows in, the gate there. And then to the right of that, there is Greyfriars Kirkyard, the most famous graveyard in Scotland. I won't go into it, but it's where all the rich and famous, historically, in the Renaissance period, were buried. It's also where J.K. Rowling went in. She looked at headstones, and took names for characters from them. So like Thomas Riddle, McGonagall, Sirius Snape, Sirius, yeah. So yeah, there's quite a few. Edinburgh's full of sort of little quaint things. Understandable why it's considered arguably the most desirable city in Britain to live in. Because it's not congested like London. It's more affordable than London. It's got pretty much everything you'd want in it in a very sort of small area. This is just the old town. It stretches for a lot longer, especially in Newtown. But yeah, so I might just show you quickly the castle and the city, the old city walls, some of the remains of them, and then I'll call it quits. Well, here is Edinburgh Castle from the Grass Market, so you get a good sense of how impressive and how dominating the castle really is throughout the city. You can pretty much see it from, well, you can see it from miles away in theory. This is one of the most impressive views of it. I think it actually looks nicer on the other side. It's more impressive, but it'd take me quite a while to walk over there. Yeah, it's quite nice. You can also Google it and see Edinburgh Castle. As I said, it's nicer on the other side, I think, but it's just still pretty impressive. That's the Grass Market there, and then I'll show you some of the old city walls. There's Edinburgh Castle again, and this is one of the few remaining parts of the old wall of the city. So it used to encase the entire city. They were originally built, no word of a lie, to effectively keep the English out of the city, well, English armies, but they kind of proved ineffective at doing that. They're mainly just a trade barrier. They control what came in and out, and they're mainly just knocked down in the mid to late 18th century, basically because they were seen